Did you always aspire to be a writer, or did you have a different dream when you were a kid, or did you start writing poetry one day and then it was like, I'm gonna write a book? Or...
Yeah, no. Did not aspire to be a writer. I had no dream when I was growing up. When people would say, what do you want to be when you grow up? I would say rich. 'Cause I was poor. Like, this is a no-brainer. I want to be rich. And if you don't have a sense of purpose, rich can come any kind of way. Like, for the hood, it's just about the money. But then I realized in other walks of life, it was just about the money too. Like, you know, and hustlers are about getting money to hide the fact that they're poor, right? You buy a bunch of stuff so that you look like you have something and that you're not poor. But at the end of the day, you go back to this poor environment and this poverty of spirit. I got out of that environment and I found like, man, people are living above their means everywhere. To have this appearance of having all this stuff and then having no relationships with people. It's like the focus of life is stuff. That's miserable. I did that. I had a gang of stuff, still got stuff. But I got to a place where my stuff didn't give me peace. And then I didn't care about stuff anymore. Still like nice things, they just don't move me. I'm not driven to get, you know, things. I'm driven by purpose. I want a legacy that outlives me. When I'm gone, I want my legacy to continue to live on. Because my stuff, everybody gonna fight over it. It's gonna get old and they gonna throw it away. No U-Hauls going to cemeteries. So you ain't taking nothing with you. I never thought I could write. I don't consider myself a great writer. I do believe that I'm a great storyteller. I always sucked at spelling. Still can't spell. Thank God for computers and spell check, because that helps me a lot. But I just tell the story, and I did not aspire to write a book, but I was around. Exposure is everything in life, and I really believe that for young people. The more places you get to go and people you get to meet who are not like you, the more you learn that there are opportunities and experiences. And so I always looked and observed other people and how they did things and how they lived. And I would pick what worked for me. I've had mentors who don't even know they're my mentors because I follow them through reading their stuff or listening to their tapes and watching how, if I want to be in the space that they're in, not be like them, because I'm not trying to be a duplicate of anybody, but I want to aspire to be in that kind of space. I watch how they carry themselves, how they talk, how they dress, because that's what it takes to be there. And I learned from that. Like, church was where I learned how to like dress nice. I didn't own a suit until I was 25, because I had never been to court. You know, where I come from, you didn't need a suit unless you were going to court. You know, if you had on a suit, people like, you know, you caught a case or something. But so I got to church, and I remember my pastor had these French cuff shirts on and these suits, so I replicated that. I was like, man, this is a cool dude. He's smart. I want to be that kind of person. And so I was around those things, and then, but then I got driven by stuff, and that kind of ruins your identity. So I fixed that later. The other thing was just seeing how people lived in different neighborhoods and how their families treated each other, or people in different careers and how they carried themselves, and learning what it took to get there, and then just doing the work. I dress like this sometimes. You know, I got to do an event. I leave here Monday, go to North Carolina, and then I go to New York. At the event in New York, man, I'm gonna have, you know, some pants and blazer on, because they will not hear me if I look like this. And I already know that, because they're old school. They're gonna judge me immediately. If I come in there with a t-shirt, tattoos, and dog tags, they will not hear a thing I have to say. My message will not change, but I have to change my appearance, because it's not about me, it's about making sure they hear me, so that hopefully they take this message and help somebody. So it's not about, oh, I gotta keep it 100, you know, I got to be, man, miss me with that. It's like, whatever it takes to get this message across, that's what I got to do. So it's not about focusing on me. So yeah, I didn't want to be a writer. I didn't know, but I'm always open to growth and whatever it takes, and just following that. I am never afraid to try.
I had a quick question. We had the pleasure of watching you preach back on Father's Day weekend, which that touched me that weekend because you were very honest about your daddy issues. We are surrounded by a lot of us that have those daddy issues. You are now a father of a son and a daughter. What are some of the things you tell them now as a father?
Man, yeah, I got real daddy issues, but I'm working on them. I had to. One of the biggest lessons I learned this year was that it was not his fault, and it was not my fault. So I met my dad when I was 16 and lived with him for 2 years. And I think both of us had this dream of what life would be like when we were together. The problem was neither one of us had the tools or the emotional ability to meet each other's expectations. Follow me? So I was a kid from the hood who hustled, who mom was a drug addict, who, I come in the house at 14, 3 o'clock in the morning, I ring the doorbell. Like, it wasn't no thing. There were no curfews. As long as you got home safe, everybody was good. We were out drinking, at 14, 15 years old, getting toe up, hanging out with the homies, not going to school. Nobody tripped. As long as you stayed alive and didn't go to jail, those was the only boundaries, Even with fighting, like, if something broke out, you couldn't run home, not my family, like, you bad for the reputation. You better go back out there and fight. Like, you can't be known for running. So you take that kid, and now you put him in the suburbs, right? My dad served in the Marines during Vietnam. His parents died. His mom died of a brain tumor when she was in her 20s. His dad died of a brain tumor when he was in his 30s. After his dad's funeral, he grew up in Virginia for a minute. Everybody thought somebody else took him. And he was like 14. Everybody else thought somebody else took him, but nobody did. So he was going to dinner at different people's homes until one night he was like, well, I got to go home. And people were like, where are you going? He was like, back to my house. And they were like, whose house? My parents' house. It had been months. This 14-year-old boy was living in his house by himself. And everyone was like, oh my God. And so they sent him to live with his aunt in New Jersey, in Jersey City. At 17, he joined the military, Marines, right? Vietnam. So, he's got his own issues from serving in Nam. Loss of both parents at very young ages. He's a very functional alcoholic. Like, he worked for the post office for 25 years. He's retired now, but he drank every day. So you take that cat and me, and now he's done well for himself. He's in the burbs, and then he brings me in from the hood in Cali. Man, it was destined to be failure, but both of us, because of our life experience, had this dream. We had our dreams of, he had this dream of, I'll have my son, we'll have this great life. But he didn't have the skill sets to be a great dad. And I didn't have the skill sets to be a great son. So I had expectations of him, and he had expectations of me, and none of them were met. And we ended up hating each other. Graduated from high school, he was like, you got to go. And I was like, deuces then. So I went and hung out in Jersey City with some homies. I didn't sell drugs or anything, they did. Because after I stopped selling drugs, as you saw in the book, I never did again. And I joined the Army. And then I went to Cali and waited for basic training, and that started a whole new journey. So there were always these pivotal moments in my life. Even him putting me out was pivotal, and that I had to make now some other decisions. Like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to live? I chose the military. That helped me, because in the military I was told I was smart. I learned a little discipline, just a little. And then that discipline helped me when I got to college. Before getting to college, I had a girlfriend who went to Howard, went to homecoming. That was another pivotal moment, because I realized they are not smarter than me. I can compete with these kids. And then decided I wanted to go to school. But so it's just a lot of journeys along the way. But with my dad, now the biggest thing with my kids, I make sure they know that I love them. It's all about communication. I tell my kids I love them every day. My daughter's 15, about to be 16, my son's 14. And we are so comfortable with expressing our love for each other, it still freaks their friends out. Because we'll be on the phone and, you know, I'll be like, I love you. And no matter where they are, they're like, I love you too. And in fact, sometimes my son's friends will be like, you know, you say you love you to your dad? And he'd be like, yeah, you don't? Like, you know, so expressions of love. I tell them my story. I let them know how proud I am of them. When I'm on the road, I let them know I miss them. You know, they're busy, they're teenagers now, and I'm like, I miss you guys, you know, I'm coming back to DC, I just want to see you. Because I need it as much as they do. But I'm not afraid to tell them how I feel. Sometimes it's uncomfortable because I'm not very good with emotions and feelings. I'm still working that out. Like, you know, I was dating this sister, she liked to hug a long time. I'm like, I got like a 4-second hug limit. Like, after 4 seconds, this gets awkward to me. I don't know what to do with this. So sometimes she just be holding on, I'm like, okay, let's let go. And my daughter does it too, just to mess with me. She like just lock in. She's like, I love you, Dad. I'm like, okay, like that's enough love. But it works. I've seen how powerful affection and unapologetic love can be for a kid, and their confidence and their own sense of honor of self and family. I've made my mistakes in that space, you know, but I never try to act like things didn't happen. Like with their mom, we're divorced, but I have those conversations with them, you know. Sometimes my daughter is like, oh, we're about to have another awkward conversation. And I'm like, yep, we're about to have an awkward conversation. So, but they're necessary so that my kids never have to guess and never have to figure it out for themselves. I let them know, like, this is what's going on, and this is how I feel about it. And I give them a chance to share their feelings. That way nobody carries any baggage. So that's kind of how I deal with it.